Welcome to the Spirit of Life channel. This message begin right now. Earthlog, the creation matrix and the adventure principle. October continues to be a time of pressure and change for all of us. As we move into balance within ourselves and move on to the new creation grid or matrix, we are being urged to release and let go of all our old energy programs and beliefs. For if we do not, we will continue to create these distorted patterns, and will not be able to reach the frequency or level of the new energy grids. You cannot be in the new earth energy and continue to create in a distorted way. That is why so many people are having to confront their own old energy patterns of distortion right now. As the Magdalena grids clear and come online, those who have been using the old feminine patterns are having to confront what I would call their victim dramas. These are those creations where you star as the tragic victim of other people's actions and feelings. Of course, these are your own creations, and you have to take responsibility for setting others up to be the abusers so that you may play the victim. This energy was made very clear to me in the past week on my trip to Montségur in France. This was the place where the Catholics wiped out the Cathars, and firmly set the victim/abuser energy into the Earth's grids as they closed down the feminine grid, except for the victim energy, which was a distortion of the power of the Magdalena grid, which carried the energy of the divine feminine. From this moment flowed the energy of the witch hunts and the persecution of the feminine principle, as it manifest in its intuitive and spiritual power. It is this old and traumatized energy that is being released from the earth grids right now as the feminine principle returns in all its solar power. How does one best handle these feelings and energies as they whirl around right now in the process of releasing and healing and clearing? Well, Archangel Michael speaks of the skills of creating in balance and of using the adventure principle. When you create from a heart that has balanced the masculine and feminine, and where both are equally powerful, then you will have no distortions. And, when you see life as an adventure in which you can play and have fun, you will avoid the need for manipulative emotional dramas as a way of creating with others. So, at this time when we have crossed the 9-9-9 portal, and we approach the 1-1-1 at the beginning of 2008, we are in a time of great pressure and learning of new skills. On the 10-10, which will be on the 10th of October, I will be doing a group channel session here in Almere in the Netherlands, in which Archangel Michael will help us to see how we can create beyond fear and the need for victim dramas. That time is gone, and is being replaced by a lightness of spirit and the fun and playfulness of our creativity. So, in order to show me how this is done, Archangel Michael took me on a series of adventures in Europe. The first was to France, where he gave me a series of meditations and visualizations that I will turn into a book. But the journey itself was a creative adventure that he called a high-speed pilgrimage, which was a kind of playful take on the idea of a pilgrimage. We covered nearly 4,000 kilometers in 5 days. Now, I know that pilgrimages are traditionally not too comfortable, and the suffering usually is part of the process and is meant to teach patience and humility. Well, in the 21st century, it can be different. I left the Netherlands with my friends Jean and Martin in a comfortable air-conditioned van, and we traveled on modern highways. We took just 1 day to reach Mont Saint-Michel. Passing through the former World War zones of Ypres and Ghent in Belgium and the Somme and Normandy in France was quite heavy, and we were aware of the heaviness of the old grids that are passing away as we moved through them. We arrived at Mont Saint-Michel in cold and windy weather, but we were so excited to be in this wonderful place that is the etheric sanctuary of the Archangel. But, no sooner had we got out of the car and started making our way to the mount, when the heavens opened and we were drenched. Michael explained that this was our purification ceremony before we entered the sacred area. Well, we were now cold and wet and discovered that Mont Saint-Michel has many steps as you ascend up to the Abbey Church at the top of the mount. When we arrived there, it was only to find that the church was closing in 5 minutes and we were not allowed in. Well, then it started to rain again. So, in this kind of situation you either lose your cool completely or you start to laugh. We chose to laugh, and it was that lightness that kept us going for the rest of the journey. We spent the night in a box hotel, since we could find nothing else. It is an hotel created of modules or boxes put together. There is no reception as such, you punch your credit card into a machine at the door and you get an access number and a room number and that's it. Interesting experience. The next day we once again ascended to Mont Saint-Michel for our experience of the divine masculine energy as embodied in this sacred space devoted to the Christ Michael energy. Jean and I spent several hours exploring the Abbey Church and the earlier Romanesque church below. And then, it was on to Carcassonne. We traveled all night and arrived in the south of France, at Carcassonne at about 2 in the morning. No hotels available, so we slept in the van. Well, it was not the usual weather that you associate with the south of France. It had just snowed on the Pyrenees, and there was an icy wind blowing off the mountains, but we decided that it was just part of the adventure, and had a good laugh about the three of us sleeping outside a gas station with all the truck drivers for company. Pilgrimages were never like this. The next morning we climbed up to the site, or medieval fortress of the city of Carcassonne. There we visited the Basilica of Saint Nazaire, dedicated to the Madeleine, like so many of the beautiful churches in the Qatar country. There was also a beautiful statue of Jeanne d'Arc, for whom my friend Jean was named, and this was meaningful for her. After lunch we moved on to Montségur, and arrived late in the afternoon, to see the most wonderful view of this mountain fortress which was the last stand of the Cathars. You might have noticed by now that there has been a lot of climbing and going up in this pilgrimage. It was at this point that I had a small talk with Archangel Michael, to ask him if he seriously expected me to go up there. Apparently he did. Ascension is surely hard work, literally and figuratively. So, after a restful night in the small mountain village of Montségur, we set off the next morning for the castle of Montségur. Montségur it was indeed up and up and up. About 40 minutes of climbing to reach the fortress at the top. Thanks to my friend Martin. He didn't quite have to get behind me and push, but he kind of pulled me up on the mental level. So I was able to enjoy the beautiful clear energy at the top. It was an experience, for what we felt was the switching on the feminine grid. The Qatar energies had finally been cleared, and all that we felt at this beautiful site was the playful and loving energy of the elementals. I even have some images of orbs that I took on the summit of Montségur. After we had descended, we set off for Rennes-le-Château and the Church of the Madeleine. This was a delightful small church, also on the summit of a medieval fortress town, but fortunately we could drive to this one. Rennes-le-Château is near to Limoux, and is a pretty little town that is peaceful and unspoilt. The Church of the Madeleine itself is a small gem. Restored by Le Personnière in the 19th century, it is a marvel of 19th visual art and decoration, as well as the center of many theories about where the money came from to finance this celebration of the Magdalene and the Grail. Here is a traditional image of the Divine Feminine as the Virgin from the garden of the Church of Rennes-le-Château. For me, this church was about the sacred marriage of the masculine and feminine energies, as Archangel Michael showed me how, within each of us, we become the Grail as our hearts open to receive the sacred spirit of source energy. And so, at the end of this pilgrimage, I had a clear understanding of the process of sacred union, and also how to adventure and create with the flow, and to enjoy whatever came to us on that flow of energy. Then, straight back home via Lyon and Luxembourg. A few days at home in the Netherlands, and then off to Großkoeberg in Germany for 2 days of workshops. Großkoeberg is in what was the former East Germany, and the second workshop fell on the day that celebrates the falling of the Berlin Wall and the reunification of East and West Germany. So the symbolic journey to unite the masculine and feminine energies became a significant part of what we shared at this workshop as well. Großkoeberg contains the Schloss or castle that was home to a friend of the German writer Goethe, and the castle has the most wonderful fairy gardens. I spent the first night there just wandering around the gardens connecting with the fairy and elemental energies. It was a wonderful 2 days, culminating in the release of my German book, which was attended also by my publisher, Michael Nagula, and my translator, Anja Ida Becker. Thanks also to Brigitte Karas and Manfred Hawk who were the organizers at Großkoeberg, and for the tour of the wonderful city of Weimar. Here I am standing with Michael and Brigitte and Manfred on the steps of the Goethe house in the old city of Weimar. Then it was back to Holland, and the next day I did a workshop with Janosh, on the Magdalena grids and on activating that energy and entering into the sacred heart energy in order to activate the creation matrix that is the natural playground of the I Am. Then on Sunday, I attended a day workshop which Janosh presented at Driebergen in the Netherlands, on his new work on the Grail codes, and so the adventures continue. The energies at the workshop I did with Janosh were very intense, and the images came out a bit blurry as a result. But here we are together at the start of the workshop. There is hardly time to think in this flow of heart energy, and what I am learning is how to balance the joy of the heart with the reason of the head. I think, maybe, that the flow is flowing a bit fast, and so I am trying to find time also for quiet reflection and peace. Today, I took a long walk along the dike wall of Guimir, near where I am staying, and took time to just enjoy the quiet and tranquil beauty of nature in this beautiful place. It is indeed a time for gratitude, for all that we are given, and that we can play in this beautiful place that we call planet Earth. That we can play together and create together, and that we can live with such radiant and beautiful and joyous love as that which is given to us every day. What a wonderful adventure is this gift called life!